Oh, how about now? And it's pretty rare that I get to introduce my former boss and my current boss into a panel discussion. So, just to recap what I was saying while I was muted, I apologize for that. That was definitely my fault. Emily, hats off to you. Really, really, really proud of all of the work that you've done, and cannot see wait to see all of the work that you're going to do in your future. Your energy is so contagious, and just really appreciate you coming in, sharing a little bit about your experience, giving us some suggestions and advice in terms of how we can truly diversify the cybersecurity workforce and empower individuals with various developmental challenges, learning challenges, neurological differences, etc., and really bring them into the fold. So, with that, I get to welcome Ken Jenkins and Jessica Gulick for a session on the U.S. Women's Cyber Team, the first ever all U.S. Women's Cyber Team, set to launch here with season 4. Ken and Jess, whenever you're ready.
There we go. Hello and welcome. We are super excited to be with you all for season 4, US Cyber Open. Lots of great talks today. I can't wait to hear all the recordings. And I just want to say thank you to everybody in the audience for joining us, and a big thank you to our sponsors. If you haven't met me, I'm Jessica Gulick. I am the commissioner of the US Cyber Games. And what that means is that I pretty much run all the collaborations, if you will, stakeholder communications and collaborations. And today I have the honor to be here to talk to you about what we're doing differently, and that is launching the first ever US Cyber Women's Team, dedicated all women's team. They will run for a full season. They will be doing Capture the Flag as well as Red versus Blue. And we'll start with a game in Tokyo. So we're super excited to kickstart this with the US Open this year. And it's funny that something like this, it takes a long time to plan, right? So we actually started talking about this back when Ken, who's joining us today, was the season 2 head coach. So coming into season 3, Josh came on as the head coach, and we did that specifically so that Ken could head up the women's team. And so I have the honor today to be joined with the head coach for the U.S. Women's first inaugural team. Ken, welcome, and thank you for volunteering and taking on such a important role.
Oh, thanks, Jess, and thanks for having me today. It's an honor to be a part of the games. I really enjoyed season 2. Season 3 is going well, and I cannot wait to kick off season 4 and be a part of the women's cyber team. So pretty stoked about that. Thanks again.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience, both work and games, or sports, and then also, your experience with the season 2. But I'll just say I am really appreciative for you taking on this role. I've had the opportunity to work with you for going almost 2 years now. And I know you're a huge advocate for women in cybersecurity and STEM in leadership roles throughout. I have witnessed it myself. You've been an excellent mentor to me as well, Ken. So I really appreciate it. And it made sense to choose somebody who was already familiar with the program and the stakeholders and our competitors, et cetera, to really take on this role, which is why we asked you to do it this year, which we know we don't know what we're getting into. So it's going to
Right.
be exciting. But why don't you share with the audience a little bit about you? Let them get to know you a little bit in case for those newbies that are just coming into season 4.
Yeah. So thanks, Jess. Wow, you almost got me emotional there. You said a lot of nice things really quickly. Thank you. Um, Again, honored to be here. So a little bit about myself. So I spent 20 years in the military. About 9 of that I was doing IT work. In the last 11, I did work inside the cyber branch within the Army, including working in the intelligence community. So doing things like you'll see in some of our CTFs and attack and defend, red teaming, pen testing, vulnerability assessments, threat hunting, a little bit of forensics, a little bit of reversing malware. And I didn't reverse malware, but very close proximity to that. And during that time, I competed in CTS myself, and I also coached Cyber Patriot team, which was all girls, by the way. And I really enjoyed the competition. I realized that we have a really underserved community, and we're not taking advantage of some of the creativity, some of the diversity that women can bring to the games. And I think building a team be will be very helpful in moving that forward. So since I've retired from the military, I've spent about the last 8 years inside of corporate America, also running similar teams, right? Whether it's red teaming or pen testing or some kind of security audit. I've been a consultant, advisor, and now I'm a CTO at a startup company called Simonics. So my experience while I was season 2 head coach, I realized that having women on the team gave us a different dimension of how we looked at problems. It was, we talk about heterodox thinking, where I work a lot is like, how do you look at a problem? And I noticed that when the women would approach a certain challenge, they would have like a whole different perspective on how to attack the challenge, or how they would perform in attack and defend. And I think we need more of that in our security operations centers around the world, on our IR teams, on our software development, our security engineering teams in corporate America. And I welcome the task of building the team out and competing internationally like we did over the last 3 seasons here at the U.S. Cyber team, U.S. Cyber Games.
No, that's wonderful. And I think that's uniquely what we get with you as a head coach, is that often when we're recruiting coaches for, let's say, the U.S. Cyber team, they come from either a military, or they come from a commercial, or they come from an academic perspective. And bringing in your knowledge of the games itself, and being part of some of the CTFs that we all love, like Cyber Patriot, CCDC, et cetera, as well as having that SOC experience, is really critical as we try to diversify the workforce and really leverage games to help women level up, if you will, or skill up, or sharpen their skills, or just get confidence. I think it's really cool to have an all-wins team, because it's not just about how women do in forensics or crypto or attack or defense. It's across the whole gambit and the whole spectrum, and we'll have role models for each, which really, I think, shows the next generation, regardless of what you want to do in cyber, there's a place for you, and you're wanted, and you can strive, and you can be the best in the world. With that said, when you look at putting together this first team, there are women out there listening right now who want to know, should they try out? Are they skilled enough? Are they do they have enough variety of skills, et cetera? What are you looking for as a head coach? Because ultimately, while I might be the commissioner, you decide who comes on your team, right? And you're going to build that team. We're thinking what, 12, 15 people are you thinking?
Sure. It's 12 to 15. So there's a couple of thoughts on that. One is, what's the team requirements of the team? So I don't start with that first. Usually we look at the candidates we have, and I'm looking for, are they curious? Or is there a willingness to learn? Is there a competitive nature, a competitive fire there? Because that competitive fire will drive their willingness to learn and the curiosity, right? If that exists, they should apply for the team, right? I don't have a hard list of technical requirements that I would look for in the early stages of building a team. Those skills are necessary to compete, but to initially get the team built, I'm looking for those traits, right? If you don't mind failing, and failing fast and moving on, the U.S. Cyber Games is a place to be. It does. I don't want to say you don't need technical abilities. I think it's important to understand forensics and reverse malware and binary exploitation, all of our Jeopardy style CTF events, and understanding what attack and defend looks like. But majority of the folks that we've had apply to the program, they come from a school where they've learned the basics to get them to entry level jobs, and then their passion on the weekends, playing in CTFs. Those are kind of the things we're looking for, to tease that out to see how they could fit into the team.
Agreed. I'm really excited. We have over 500 women signed up to compete in the Open. So super excited about that. I guess what I would, and correct me if I'm wrong, when you look at the scores after the Open is done, you're going to be looking for all different kinds of things, right? Not just are they in the top 10, but are they in the top 10, or how did they score in this and in crypto or versus forensics? Because you've got to have some depth in each one of those areas as you put together the team, as well as some people that just show the ability to learn in their application as well. So in terms of, no, go right ahead. Any other
I was going
skills
to
that you
say
think
that,
of?
when you start building a team and you're progressing to get to the stages of competition, there's where we're going to have to find depth in each of the requirements on the team, right? But what I wanted to make clear earlier is there's no gatekeeping. You do not have to have extensive background in any of the Jeopardy style events to apply for this team. Your value as a woman joining the team may be that you're complementary across many of those. Maybe you're good at 3 of the 5, 3 of the 6 tasks. Maybe you attack problems differently. So just want to make sure we keep that clear. But we do there in our past international experience competing, we know that we continuously have a weak spot in cryptography, right? So we do look for certain skills, but they're not a prerequisite to apply for the team and compete to be on the team. Now, competing on the team, that's a little different. That's where we're trying to focus people to their strengths and then align them to that during the competitions. And obviously, some of those skills are a little harder to find than others, but we have the processes in place to do that with the Open, and we're not requiring the women to participate in the combine this year, but for selection of the team. But there are many places where we can observe where we think there'll be success based on the skill sets we're looking for competition purposes.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's the first year and because our first game is November 14th in Tokyo. We're fast tracking the women's team this year. So they won't have an opportunity to be part of the combine. We're going to go directly to, after the Open, we'll do personal invites and then interviews, and then we'll do selection probably at the end of July. And then we start training. What can they expect? I mean, in terms of training and some of the benefits they get of being part of the team.
Oh my gosh, I love this about the US Cyber Games. First and foremost, the access you have to resources. There is an existing US Cyber team already, right? There's years of alumni from that program. There's mentors, there's former coaches, there's assistant coaches, there's head coaches. And then there's a lot of mentors that we don't necessarily highlight, that can help you with the resume, that can help you with prepping for an interview. Also, we bring in guest speakers every other week to come in and talk to the team and share knowledge, skills, abilities that they have. And that's, I'm quite impressed with some of the guest speakers we bring in and who the team gets access to. So the women's team will have that same level of access. The other thing is scrimmages. We don't just show up to a competition without having rehearsed what the team is capable of, the tool sets that we've developed, who does what. When we actually get into competition, we've already rehearsed. We already rehearsed this. Like in the military, we had this concept of train as you fight. So we will train and we will scrimmage prior to actual competition. The other thing is I kind of touched on it a bit with the speaking engagements and the mentors that come into the program and talk to the team. We also have weekly office hours where the team comes together and bounces ideas off each other. They get updates on the US Cyber Games, the opportunities we have to compete together, weekly CTFs. So there's just, I mean, once you join, you you were joining. I can't think of a single place where you could join and get this much access to cybersecurity training, mentors, peers that all have competition in mind and want to just better themselves. One of my favorites is the potential to travel, right? So you can, we've been to cities or we've been to places like Greece, Vienna, Austria. We've been to Norway. This year, we have a trip to Tokyo, Chile. We were in San Diego. Also, we do some local in the U.S. training events. So that potential to travel, and usually Jess is really good about making sure there's a little bit of time to take in the environment where we're at, right? Where you can go visit things, or we have an events. So it's really good for collaboration, getting to know each other outside of the games or outside of competition or outside of structured event. I think my favorite is you're building a peer group that is, in my mind, peerless. When I've been on the selection or part of the draft and the selection committee to select athletes to join the team, I am blown away at the level of dedication, the prowess in degree programs, the ability to program in multiple languages at a very young age. I'm really stoked by that. That's who you, as an aspiring woman who wants to be on the U.S. Cyber team, that's who you're joining. That is now your cohort. That is now your peer group. So that affiliation, and it's also a globally recognized affiliation. When any of the coaches, mentors, any of our athletes go to these events, they already know many of the competitors. So that you're not just building a peer group of 18 to 25 or 18 to 28, which is what we're looking at this year for the U.S. Cyber team. You're building a global peer group for yourself that you can bounce ideas off. Also, may open employment opportunities for you. So it's I love that part of the games.
Absolutely. And this year in particular, I know as part of the planning group for the Tokyo Games, the Kunoichi Games, we are, which is Japanese for female ninja. So it should be great. It's going to be a lot of networking. So it'll be very similar to the US Cyber Games Championship, if you will. There'll be CTF and there'll be RVB, but they'll be shorter. It'll be part of a larger conference that's going on. It'll be more of an exposition game. And we're already planning to have all the female teams stay in the same hotel, to go to dinner together, to really have a chance to get to know for right now, there's up to 6 teams that will be there as far as I know. So far, we know that Japan and UK have teams that are coming, and then we're obviously the third. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for networking and expanding your network internationally, and less stress, because it's not a championship game in November. It's an exposition game, which means we're going to have fun, and there'll be a lot of talk around workforce and how what you're doing on the games really can help open doors for your career going forward. So we have just a couple minutes. I have like 2 or 3 minutes left on this session, Ken. I do want to touch base because I'm hearing a lot of feedback on the chat. They're like, oh man, I'm too old, right? But I want to help out in some way. We take volunteers for coaches and for tech mentors. Is there anything you want to say with that?
Yeah, a couple things. So for coaches and tech mentors, we do need you to be able to coach or mentor on on pertinent skills that the team would need to compete, right? Also, have you mentored in the past? Because taking on a mentee is a two-way street that has obligation. So that's something, we want to make sure that you have staying power and want to be involved in the games. We understand people get busy with work and family life, but we're looking for a bit of dedication that says you're going to be a part of the journey and you're going to stick to the role for at least the season, right? We make a lot of concessions where people can't miss things, and we support each other. So that's not a problem. That's not what I'm trying to get at. It helps to have deep expertise in some of the CTF style, Jeopardy style CTF categories that we have, or prior experience in attack and defend. That does not have to just come in competition. Maybe you did those things in your work or your career, and you can bring world experience to the games and to the athletes. I think the big one is you want to give back to the cybersecurity community and young adults, and specific to US Cyber, the women's US Cyber team, is you want to help amplify what women have to bring to the games and competition. I think if any of those pique your interest, then you would probably be a great coach or technical mentor for our program.
Fantastic. And you'll be doing those interviews as well.
Yes.
So I want to highlight something you said, is because we hear it a lot with women, and they don't realize attack and defense games, RVB games, red versus blue games, those are fairly new. Not many people around the world have that experience. There's only like maybe less than 10 platforms that can really pull it off in the world. So they're exciting opportunities to get into the ground floor, you know, as this is really starting to emerge as a cool game to get to be part of and to start winning and being competitive in. Now is the time. It's okay if you've never played red versus blue before, but as you said, you've got strong Linux background, you've got, you know, understanding of real world cybersecurity capabilities that you believe will pertain to the game. I want to, as we close up, thank you, Ken, for everything you do for the program. You're amazing to work with, and really appreciate you taking on this leadership role going forward. To the women out there, I want to encourage you to sign up with the Open. Even if you have only a limited amount of time, pick an area that you think is your strength, show it to us, do some of the challenges, get scores on the board, apply to be considered so that we can evaluate your fit for this year. If there's something I've learned about the US Cyber games and the US Cyber team, is every year it gets more competitive, every single year. So if you're questioning whether or not you've got what it takes, I would go ahead and apply this first year, because the people that make the team are the ones that have the most courage, not necessarily the strongest ones out there the first year. So definitely apply. I'm hoping you guys have tons of questions. I'm going to close out this session, Ken, and thank you, and hand it back over to Brad. But I'm going to go over Umbrella, and I will be in the booth for PlayCyber, the one that has the US Cyber Games Women's there. If you have any questions, I'll be over there to answer questions with you all. Otherwise, you can reach me through Umbrella or through LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Ken, and we are looking forward to a great year.
Thank you, Jess.
Back over to the producer and Brad.